Minister of State for External Affairs, Shri M.J. Akbar, Minister of State for Health, Srimati Anupriya Patel ji, Minister of Health from Malaysia, Shri Subramaniam, and ladies and gentlemen. The plenary session today is on making India a global health and wellness hub. I would like to give you a brief background of why this topic was selected. In the last few decades, the world has seen increasing lifespans and effective management of communicable diseases. However, because of urbanization and sedentary lifestyles, there has been a remarkable rise in non-communicable diseases, that is NCDs. The NCDs are adversely affecting not only the developed countries, but also developing countries. The impact on India is expected to be a crippling $5 trillion between 2012 to 2030. At the same time, India, which over thousands of years has evolved yoga, Ayurveda, and other forms of holistic healthcare, offers a very effective mechanism of not only managing, but also preventing the incidence of NCDs. The world is today looking at ways of de-stressing, of having a balance between work and leisure. India offers the perfect solution. But how do we reach this destination? So as a part of the brainstorming session, the first meeting was held of a panel consisting of 14 eminent members of the Indian diaspora and experts from within India. The panel met in May 2016. They came up with a set of specific recommendations and measures to be taken by the Government of India. These recommendations were forwarded by our External Affairs Minister to other cabinet ministers. I'm glad to tell you that we have held a number of interministerial meetings to discuss actual implementation. Briefly, to go over the main recommendations of the panel, it was felt that the Indian diaspora should play an active role in promoting Ayush. Ayush is an acronym which includes Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha, and Homeopathy. And there is a separate Ministry of Ayush which was set up in 2014 after the present government assumed power. Secondly, it was felt there is a need for greater recognition abroad. Several measures were identified. Signing of a G2G agreement, setting up Ayush cells in our missions, signing MOUs, etc. Thirdly, it was agreed that while there is growing awareness about the benefits of yoga, Ayurveda, etc., there is lack of awareness about the specific hospitals, specific clinics where this treatment is available, and also lack of information about which are the reputed yoga institutes. So we've been working on this. It was also felt that instead of allopathy and holistic healthcare being promoted in a separate manner, an effort should be made to integrate these. Now, our friends abroad and we in India have known for hundreds of years about the great benefits of yoga and Ayurveda, but there is a need for effective clinical research to ensure that we can convince people abroad about these benefits. Now, 1 out of 3 tourist visits abroad are for wellness. It is the quest for health and well-being. India has immense potential, but much of it lies untapped. We have the majestic Himalayas, we have beautiful beaches, we have scenic deserts and wildlife parks which offer many opportunities. but we need to develop and package this. Ayurvedic products need to be standardized. A lot of effort is being made towards this. Similarly, while we have hundreds of yoga institutes and yoga teachers, there was no gradation for the yoga teachers until now. Now, the last two are more of medium-term objectives. It was felt that we should try and establish the equivalent of a Harvard or Stanford in providing training for yoga or Ayurveda. So there is a need to improve the quality of our training institutions and to really set up a world-class institute. It was also felt that we need to retain the stamp of authenticity. The institutes abroad which are promoting Ayurveda must come to India and obtain this stamp of credibility. Again, it was felt that while a number of efforts are being made to market healthcare, there should be a separate platform for marketing holistic healthcare products. So progress has been made on this. Insurance criteria have also been drawn up for reimbursement for Ayurveda and also for homeopathy. Now the last point, this really I think is critical. We need to bring in large-scale investment and bring in corporates to promote brand India. At present, although there have been great efforts made, much of our Ayurvedic and yoga institutes are small scale in nature, and this is where the Indian diaspora can also play an important role in bringing in foreign investment so that we can corporatize India. Just to go back, about 40 years ago, we just had small to medium-sized clinics in India, but it's only when large-scale investment came in that we now have the chain of world-class hospitals. Now, action taken by MEA and Ayush. I'm glad to tell you that a lot of progress has been made in the last few months. Already 21 of our missions have set up Ayush cells. There are 23 of them. Each cell plays an active role in promoting and disseminating information about holistic healthcare. We've signed MOUs with 10 countries in traditional medicine for cooperation. Collaborative research MOUs have been signed with 7 reputed universities in major countries, US, UK, Germany, Canada, etc. Ayurvedic chairs are to be set up in 9 universities. You can see there's a broad global reach, and I'm glad to tell you that most of these are being set up this year itself. Now, the Indian diaspora has to play a very important role in promotion of holistic healthcare. Again, it's a matter of encouragement that for the fellowship program, there is more participation from the diaspora. About 40 to 45 students are now availing of the bachelor's degrees. As you know, the International Day of Yoga is being celebrated with increasing gusto and fervor across the world. Now, Ayush has come up with specific incentives. It is ready to provide 15 lakh rupees for organizations from the Indian diaspora and other organizations who are organizing seminars, workshops, conferences in holistic healthcare abroad. They are also ready to provide support of up to 1 crore for organizing exhibitions. Support will also be given for Indians and members of the diaspora who are publishing articles on holistic healthcare. So there is a financial stimulus. Accreditation of hospitals. Again, in this area, a lot of steps are being taken. The National Accreditation Board for Hospitals has already accredited 16 Ayurvedic hospitals and 1 Siddha hospital. The Quality Council of India has developed standards for further accreditation. We expect more hospitals to come within this recognized category. Now, one of the lacunae, according to foreign observers, was that our treatment depended on the particular Vaidya that you went to for Ayurveda or Unani or Siddha. So we've standardized this. Guidelines for Panchakarma have been developed after 3 years of research. Most recently, you might have heard that Prime Minister has inaugurated the International Conference on Treatment of Diabetes through yoga, and a common treatment protocol has been evolved. This has also been done after 3 years of research. Yoga professionals to be qualified, criteria have been developed. The yoga teachers are being evaluated. About 800 have been evaluated and recognized. We will go up to 1,000 in the next 3 months, and the process will continue. Now, there is a need to integrate Ayurveda and allopathy. The main hospitals in India are being encouraged to further promote holistic healthcare because they already have a great deal of credibility. Some of them have already made progress, Medanta, Apollo, etc. Other hospitals are also providing facilities for holistic healthcare. The central government health scheme is already providing consultation in Ayurveda in about 1/3 of its centers. The export of Ayurvedic drugs and herbal supplements has been increasing. Exports have reached a reasonable value last year. Now, it was felt that specific events need to be organized to promote holistic healthcare. The Advantage Healthcare India event was organized in October 2016. A specific website called India Healthcare Tourism was launched and inaugurated by Prime Minister in April 2015. This gives details of 400 hospitals and the type of treatment available. I would encourage you to please have a look at it. It's an excellent website. The 7th World Ayurveda Conference was held recently in Calcutta. A lot of foreign participation in these. Similarly, a study being undertaken for improving market access. And the first International Arogya Fair is being held in New Delhi in October 2017 to provide a platform for promotion of Indian holistic healthcare products. As you've seen, we've taken a number of steps in the last 6 to 7 months to actually implement the recommendations made by the panel following its meeting in May 2016. We look forward to answering your queries and to further suggestions so that we can continue the process of making India a global health and wellness hub. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gupte, for your presentation. We're very honored to have our special guest here, the Honorable Minister of Health, Government of Malaysia, Dr. S. Subramaniam. I'd now like to invite him to speak.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, and a good evening to fellow members on the panel and for the members of the audience who have sustained themselves from the morning till now to partake in this discussion on health and a wellness hub. Frankly, I don't know whether I am qualified to talk on promoting India as a wellness hub, but what I probably will do is take on some of the changing scenarios in our concept of health and possibly how this will fit into the idea of what was presented by Mr. Ajit just now. First, I would like to say that in September last year, the world, through the United Nations, launched what we call the Sustainable Development Goals after the completion of the Millennium Development Goals. One of the fundamental change from Millennium Development Goals to the Sustainable Development Goals was to look at the global scenario, including health, from a sustainable point of view. On the premise of the social, environmental, and economic sustainability. And although there was a lot of concern among people who are involved in health, that the SDGs didn't have enough pointers like what the MDGs had. But what was very important, a point which I held in most platforms, including the WHO, was that the SDGs actually gave greater importance to health because we were looking at health as a multi-sectoral end result component of failures of the other components of the SDGs. For example, if you take a nutrition, if nutrition fails, then it becomes a health-related problem. If you solve poverty, it helps to improve the state of health. If gender equality is erased, it increases the state of health. So now the world is actually on a platform in which health has been elevated from a single isolated entity to be one which is in part and parcel of the overall performance of growth. And I can consider as being the central pillar of growth. So the entire elements of what is in the SDGs actually contribute towards the development of a healthy society. So that's the first point I wanted to make. The second point is the global transition or shift from the desire to treat diseases to the desire to preserve health. And this is where probably today's topic of discussion comes into importance. Because when the importance is given that we should remain healthy, rather than actually attempting to treat diseases, the entire focus of the health system changes from one which was prior to this, focused on building hospitals, training doctors with higher skills, and finding new drugs to treat diseases, to one in which we actually deal with people, humanity as such, to make the correct choices. So these choices will lead to the preservation of a healthy society, which will distance itself from illness and distance itself from sickness, and that will be the way of the future. While we talk about that, then of course it comes to the idea that when you talk about wellness, it's an empowerment of the individual. No one will be better prepared to want to be healthy than the person himself. That motivation, the behavioral elements which are within it, that people will be motivated to remain healthy by making the right choices. And to make right choices, of course, it comes to the idea of how human beings behave. And whether through this behavioral element we can make the correct choices. So when you make the correct choices, the choices towards a healthy environment and to remain healthy. That is the next point. The third point is, of course, we all know that there are a lot of very eminent doctors from prominent hospitals here. The tendency today to shift away from hospitals. We all will be happy if we actually reach a date that hospitals do not exist. But that's hypothetical, conceptual. But there is, of course, a very big movement, and the way medical science is evolving, that going further away from hospitals. Hospitals are expensive, and hospitals also give us a lot of difficulties. So there's a more and more movement in terms of medical development to ensure managements are done in the community level, in the primary care level, and to a great extent in daycare levels, particularly with the advent and availability of technologies which allow us to do a lot of things where doctors from distant areas when deal with patients in very distant areas in their own communities. Modern technology has actually given us a great capacity to ensure that the role of the hospital over the years will slowly become diminished. So having said those fundamental points, I take out from what the previous speaker has actually said, that where is the role of Indian traditional medicine consisting of the various groups which he mentioned just now, from Ayurvedic to Siddha, Unani, and the other groups in this modern thing. As you will say, that all that has got a role in the preservation of health to ensure that people are distanced from disease, and how management can be done away from hospitals, and that is where this new role comes. In Malaysia, we have recently taken a more pragmatic role of accommodating traditional medicine into the overall fold of the health ministry. We have evolved an act called the Traditional and Complementary Medicine Act, in which Indian traditional medicine is one component of it. And we have actually incorporated this treatment in some of our hospitals with the assistance and support of the Indian government. And we have great working relationship with IUs in trying to develop these potentials. Malaysia is one of the countries which has signed the Memorandum of Understanding with the Indian government in promoting Indian traditional medicine. And of course, we welcome the opportunities which are given by the Indian government for training Malaysians in the field of Ayurvedic medicine. So a lot of scholarships have been given. Last year, I think 10 Malaysians actually took up the scholarship to actually study Ayurvedic medicine within the Indian government. So these are growing trends, and it is notable because globally, rightfully or wrongfully, people are trying to distance themselves from what we know as the current allopathic medicine or Western medicine. So that being so, it is probably a good opportune movement for the Indian government and the medical fraternity within the Indian government to actually promote this in a manner in which is will be accepted by the greater community. We have some challenges, of course. For example, in many countries, pharmaceutical registration boards have challenges in registering traditional medicines when they have medical claims. For example, if an Ayurvedic medicine claims to treat diabetes, when it comes to a Malaysian pharmaceutical board, we will ask the questions whether it has undergone the normal kind of rigorous testing and trials which a normal allopathic drug would have been subjected to. If there's a failure to provide that kind of evidence, then the pharmaceutical board will not register such a product for that particular claim that it actually treats diabetes. So this is a challenge because the nature of Ayurvedic medicine is different from the way allopathic drugs are evolved and eventually provided and given treatment. But this is an area which I think the practitioners of the Ayurvedic system has to see, and how to provide the rigorous scientific evidence to actually enable such products which claim medical benefits to be registered. So we have got two systems of registry. Anything which claims benefit for general well-being, we allow it without much need for rigorous evidence. But if anything has got a claims a definitive effect, like it reduces blood sugar or reduces blood pressure, then of course we would like the evidence that it actually does that. So this is a challenge. I don't know whether it's a challenge based by other countries, but this is an issue which probably the agencies which are involved in traditional medicine in India can look to. Finally, I think I agree that point that there is a need to integrate allopathic and traditional medicine into a seamless manner so that the benefits of both can be complementary to provide a holistic kind of treatment which will, as I said, preserve wellness, provide functional independence, and total well-being of the patient. This is all the more important as the medical fraternity in the global platform is moving towards what we call a patient-centered health system, in which, in difference to the way we actually practiced medicine before, where the doctor is the god and the patient is the receiver, now the patient becomes the god and the doctor becomes the provider. So in this changing situation, of course, the overall total needs of the patient, both emotional, psychological, functional, has to be recognized. And this is an area in which I think that integration of both systems will actually allow for a total holistic provision of healthcare in which the patient will be treated as a total person with emotional needs alongside an understanding and a buy-in from him as far as these things are concerned. That is what I think I will share for the time being, and I'll probably be willing to give any viewpoints at the later if the panelists show desire. I thank you very much for having given this opportunity for us to come, and also thank the Indian government for having invited the Malaysian delegation to be part of the Pravasi, and as usual, we have got a huge delegation which is here today. Thank you very much.
We have a question from Dr. Sheetal Naresh, who is based in Vienna. The question is, can we add a one-year Ayurvedic course in the MBBS degree?
Hello. Thank you that you are given chance to tell about my idea. I am working last for 40 years in allopathic. I am eye surgeon. And the question is actually, there are so many medicine subjects which can be done very well in Ayurveda. And
Can you please stand up?
here.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yep. So this question was always in my mind. If suppose we work together with Ayurveda, partly our president from Malaysia has already mentioned that integrate allopathic and Ayurveda. So my question is only whether it is official possible in our allopathic course, MBBS or whatever else, to add 1 year experience about the Ayurveda. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. I think there are two parts of the question. First is exploring the possibility of whether we can have any such course, and second is regarding the duration. So this is a beautiful suggestion considering the issue which is for discussion today, and we'll definitely explore the possibility whether such a kind of a course can be added or not. But right now, I cannot make a commitment, but we can always think about it.
We have one more question from Tashkeen Muhammad Akbar from Saudi Arabia. The question is, carrying medicines from India for day-to-day use in Saudi Arabia is an issue. Sometimes people land in jail and there are legal issues. Can the ministry do something to take care of this?
I really want to congratulate whoever has asked this question, because telemedicine is something which our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji is extremely passionate about. And let me assure you that telemedicine is something we are really trying to give a boost to. insofar as India is concerned, we've not been able to really put it effectively into implementation. We're trying to expand our network so that more and more hospitals could be connected with the telemedicine network, and more people living in the remotest parts of India could avail of the suggestions and advices, and they can take consultations from the expert and specialized doctors sitting in good hospitals across the nation. And your country, you asked about your specific place, telemedicine network. I think first focus would be to grow it bigger within India, but we'll definitely think about what can be done about your case too.
There is a question from Sanjeev. This is an interesting question. This is addressed to Dr. Azad Mupin. While we thank you for your large investments in south of India, what are your plans for north of India?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. We have been in India for a few years, and we have just started this journey from the south, and I'm sure that we'll be coming to the north as we go forward.
This is a very interesting question for Dr. Harsh Mahajan. When is artificial intelligence going to become routine in radiology?
As things are today, I think this is a direction towards which there's rapid movement in radiology. The day is not far. Already Watson from IBM and GE, Philips, Siemens, all of them are working on developing robust systems of computer-aided diagnosis of CT scans, MRI scans, X-rays. And actually from this country, we already have collaborations with Stanford, we have collaborations with operators in Israel, trying to develop these algorithms, because globally there's a shortage of radiologists, and more machines are being set up at a very rapid pace around the world to deal and diagnose early, try to prevent disease, and this shortage is going to stay. And this is where these artificial intelligence systems are going to come in. And I feel within 3 to 5 years, this is going to become a clinical reality where the computer will probably be able to report half the scans which a radiologist may not need to. And then for the others, the radiologist would come in and do an overread of the scans. As we all know, in breast mammography, already computer-aided diagnostic systems have been there for over 10 years. And they are very helpful, but still not robust enough. But this is the direction, and this is going to happen very, very soon. And probably India, with such a huge healthcare as well as IT infrastructure in place, especially in Bangalore, most of the software is being written here for the large healthcare companies. India would play a major role in developing these.
There's a question from Dr. Sudarshan, Secretary of the Indian Council of Social Welfare. Can a scheme be launched by using mobile for providing Ayush medicines? Secondly, can forest produce of medicinal value be utilized for preparation of medicines?
Although both questions pertain to the Ministry of Ayush, I will certainly, forward your questions to them, because whether this Ayush would be intending to do this or not, I really cannot comment on this.
Thank you. I'll now invite the panelists if they want to very briefly add something.
Hi, 1 minute. I have a question. I didn't get the slip, so I stood up. 2 questions I have. First thing is, can we make some amendments in the health insurance sector in India so that we have a dental insurance as a separate insurance policy? Because in India, 40% of the diseases are happening just because of the dental, but we got the insurance under the health scheme if only our teeth got broken by accident. And the fact that I stated in US is around $8,500 have been spent on just health insurance, and in India it is comparable to just $40. So if we can, I'm working on a startup for dental insurance. So
can I remind you that this panel is on holistic healthcare?
That's true, but you made a point on the insurance. That's why I came up with the question.
Thank you. We'll take your suggestion.
No problem. Thanks.
The panelists?
No, I want to add as an Ayurvedic physician, no, there is a shift that is happening from the societies, that health-seeking behavior of societies are very fast changing. And India can take a great benefit out of that, but India can contribute. India is in a very unique position of having a great unbroken history of 5,000 years of traditional knowledge in healing, with a very state-of-the-art modern healthcare system, equally dominant and very advanced. So if India takes up that responsibility of providing holistic healthcare with the support of an integrative approach of modern medical system, including, when I say traditional health, I want to involve all the lifestyle methods we have been preaching, not only the medicine, the whole healthcare, including the detoxification process we have, all these methods, then India can benefit a lot in this.
We have been working on this aspect and talking about it, the medical tourism in India. And as you know, India is a vast country, a large number of healthcare institutions. The quality of services in the institution can vary from place to place and center to center. The information available to people who want to come for the medical tourism sometimes becomes very sketchy, and for the person to make up the mind that whether I'm going to the right place or not. So a work is required to be done to create minimum standards for an organization which is claiming to a medical tourism destination for the organization. So that people who are looking for these destinations, at one site, they understand that this organization is capable of providing medical tourism services. Two factors are there. One is that the person comes to the country at a particular cost. And after coming to the country, he or she realizes that the services which are required are not being met with. Second factor is that when you are promoting it as a destination, it has to be a credible destination. And that credible component is going to come only if we have some standards attached to it. And the third component, which is very important, is cost. There has to be a credible system that anyone who's coming to us goes back with the satisfaction that what was charged to me was charged as per the treatment or the therapy or whatever which has been provided to it under an optimal costing pattern which is relevant to the country. So once we go for the minimum standards, we know that it meets the standards. Number two, it meets what level of standards. Number three, what I'm going to spend to meet that level of standards so that I pick up a center which is in line with my thought of spending pattern that I want to have. And at the end of the day, probably the country as a whole becomes a much more credible healthcare destination than what we have today, because definitely there is some level of disorganization from the individual credibility of each organization point of view.
Excuse me, may I interrupt? Hello? I'm Dr. Anpurna Sharma. I'm from the United Kingdom and I'm a specialist in child health. Sorry, I wonder if I could just ask a question, a very brief question. It's just to say that I think it's really important because India has a young population that it should be considered whether there's a strong enough evidence base for this kind of medicine to be applied to India's children. Can they not hear?
Hello, hello, check. Check. Could we have more volume maybe, please?
Yeah, you know, you can meet separately with the panelists afterwards so that we can answer your queries. But you know, we are running out of time. The minister also has another engagement. So I'll request. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. So I'll request the panelists to continue.
We have almost 30 million Indian diaspora all over the world, and then rest of the population. As we get older and older, there are diseases that come up and they require acute care. But we also have need for what we call preventive care or healthier lifestyle. And that's where many Indian institutions offer a hope or a marketplace for people to come, stay here for a period like month or so, medical tourism, spend time to lose some weight, have yoga, which has now been recognized all over the world as a mild type of both spiritual as well as physical exercise, and learn the vegetarian art of cooking as well as eating. And I think this can form an important marketplace for traditional Indian type of medicine, exercise, and hopefully healthier lifestyle. Thank you.
Yeah. Just wanted to add that we have a huge potential to be the destination for healthcare world over. There's no doubt about that. Only thing is that it has to be properly promoted. Even though historically we have 5,000 years of history, and traditional in modern medicine we have excellent hospitals, I don't think that this has been promoted. Like for example, Malaysia gets large number of patients from many countries, Singapore, many countries, whereas in India still it's very limited numbers which are coming. So I think that there is a requirement for us to promote our country as a destination for healthcare, holistic healthcare world over, which can be easily done because we have large population which are residing in these countries. So my suggestion is that we should look at promoting India as a healthcare destination. We have other promotions going on, but this should be included very strongly, and the Ministry of Health should take an active role in that.
Can I invite the distinguished panelists from to the left of the dais?
As all of us know, yoga has been promoted in a very big way by our Honorable Prime Minister through the International Day of Yoga. And as a result, there has been large number of Indian diaspora coming over to India for learning yoga, for their own benefit, for prevention of diseases, promotion of positive health. As rightly pointed out by a previous speaker, what is needed is today to have authentication of the yoga practices. So the Ministry of Ayush has been promoting to bring evidence-based yoga practices. So can we have a standardized protocol for different ailments, and all the yoga institutions sat together to develop a common protocol for diabetes, for example. Similarly, we have to do many such things for different ailments. And then it has to be put into the anvil of modern scientific research to develop the evidence base. Fortunately, over the last 30 years, there has been a lot of yoga research that has undergone. Nearly 1,000 research papers are available in the field of yoga in its applications to various different diseases, and they're all published in index journals. And using that, probably many institutions have started using these protocols to give that. So what is necessary is that you should have the yoga practices which are not hazardous. And for that purpose, you must know what is to be done, what is not to be done on one front. Second, how much has to be done, how much has not to be given, also is important. The same yoga practices done too much can cause problem. Just like insulin is good for diabetes, you give more insulin, you may go hypoglycemia. Therefore, it has got a very important aspect, what yoga to teach, how much to teach, when to teach is all very important. All these things have to be taken into consideration, especially in the application of yoga for different NCDs and therapeutic application. But for general promotion, yes, yoga can be taught, and the International Day of Yoga, we formed the yoga protocol, which was used extensively by a large number of people, and it's very safe for general things. But coming to specific applications of therapy, one has to be very, very careful in using this dimension. We must have the proper evidence base. Therefore, for all the people whom we trained in our university, we first tell what is not to be done. What are the contraindications of the different yoga practices for therapeutic applications? And then, even if you don't get the benefit, at least you should not cause any harm. That is the first criteria for using the yoga therapy dimension. And gradually things have started shaping up in various different mainstream hospitals. Yoga is coming up. For example, we have set up the Integrative Center in the All Institute of Medical Sciences, AIMS, in Delhi. In Immans, we have started the Advanced Yoga Center, wherein things have started coming up in a big way to have intensive research backing for these things. And with these things, I think the Indian diaspora can come over more and more into Indian to learn more and more of yoga. Thank you.
In the context of Malaysia, as our Honorable Minister Dr. Subramaniam spoke, by Act, the complementary medicine, or alternative medicine as we call, is already incorporated together with the allopathy. So it's a forward thing that's happening. But when it comes to complementary medicine, the Chinese way of complementary medicine, or the Chinese medicine they call, or the Malay traditional medicine, they have been more streamlined compared to the 4,000 years old Indian medicine. The reason is, one of the things is, we have not been exposed quite well. And until recently, after Ayush and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji have come up with the concept of yoga and healthy living and things like that, the diaspora also start looking to that. And with the High Commission of India and Malaysia, His Excellency, I think Mr. Tirumurthy is also here, with his great support, and the Ministry of Health, they have a separate unit of complementary medicine, where still the Ayurvedic or Ayush group of medicines is still very primitive. It is much more to do. One of the largest diaspora of Indians out of Europe, out of America, is probably in Southeast Asia. The Malaysian Indians, as well as Singapore and Indonesians, they can be a brand ambassadors for Ayush, because they believe in that system. Rather than pushing on a system that people don't believe, here we got a group of people who believe in this system. So we can use them because they believe in the system to promote this thing. And about 10, 15 years ago, we hardly had an Ayurvedic center or Ayurvedic wellness center in Malaysia. Today, there are more than 50 to 60 in the country, but they're not registered under the health ministry, but they are registered as the health clubs or health spas and things like that. To be registered as the health unit, I think the Ministry of Health in Malaysia, with the government of Malaysia, government of India pushing a little more, now we got 2 Ayurvedic doctors, one in Porikson, the same doctor come to the rehabilitation center in Cheras, and I believe that there's another 2 more coming up in Penang. It's a very good and positive move for Malaysia, where, of course, there is a religious element to that, where the government, primarily being an Islamic country, there have always been a skeptical view on this and promoting this. But if we can separate these 2 things together and show it as from the health point of view, I'm sure Ayush and we can form a good bridge between India and Malaysia, not only Malaysia, even in Singapore. And for a start, as the Minister has said and His Excellency has said, there are 10 scholarships taken up to do medicine in Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, and one of them is a Malay student. That is something, is a great move that's happened. We thank the Indian government for giving this offer and the Indian Embassy in Malaysia for promoting these scholarships. Thank you.
Respected dignitaries, being a homeopathic physician, I am truly to say that India actually is a wellness hub and global healthcare. It's a hub of global healthcare because it has 2 factors. It does not have the allopathic concept to it. Indian traditional medicine considers the disease as the holistic from its root. It takes the treatment from its root. Indian traditional medicine always considers disease treatment is as a holistic angle. And second, that India does not have just one system of holistic health care. It provides the variety like acupuncture, homeopathy, Unani, Siddha. It provides the variety of holistic health care under one area inside one destination. So it definitely is going to be a global healthcare hub, holistic healthcare hub. And I am seeing the government part. I mean, this time, I think this is the first time Pravasi Bharatiya Divas where the global holistic healthcare topic has been taken up. And I must congratulate government and the Indian diaspora outside who has actually shown much interest in promoting healthcare. India as a global healthcare, I have seen Dr. Achaiya and the people, various dignitaries in the panel, that they have been discussing so far. I mean, we have been having good discussions and working ahead to make India as a holistic healthcare destination, which I see will definitely become one day a biggest healthcare destination in holistic healthcare. So I must congratulate government on this part, and I see it as a global healthcare destination. Thank you very much.
I come from New Zealand, which is quite far from India to be a health destination. But we have all the issues of the chronic care with the Indian population that's increasing, as well as with our New Zealand original people of Maori and the Pacific Island population we have there. We run primary care, which is the first point of contact for any patients that come through, and we see the benefit of holistic care, whether it be mental health, whether it be the alternative beliefs that people have. So with our Indian way and our Hindu beliefs in yoga have played a big part in the holistic care when it comes to chronic care disease management. We run an organisation where we would see 3 new diabetics a day, which causes great burden on the health system. So having the ability to think outside the square of traditional medicine is very, very important. To make India a health destination from New Zealand is very difficult for mainstream New Zealand. Our Indian population do use India as a healthcare alternative because they've got family to visit here. So for the traditional operational things like teeth and eyes, they all get it done here. So I think having the concept which is sold is very important, and that can only be done if it's a registered and a uniform degree or institute that will be accepted by mainstream all over the world.
Namaskar. I have been teaching about Ayurveda and yoga in the United States for more than 20 years now. And I was surprised to find how much Westerners who have never been to India, who don't even know how to pronounce Ayurveda properly, they have become believers. So much so that in United States right now we have 40 colleges of Ayurveda, and 20 are in California alone. One of the reasons Ayurveda is growing, and people like me can promote it and support it, is when we talk about Ayurveda not just as a fix-it medicine, as the Minister from Malaysia talked about, but it's a lifestyle and it promotes health. It awakens health within us. So when it becomes an entire life where each day lived well becomes a medicine unto itself, then there is great takers for Ayurveda. So I was really happy when I received this invitation, and then I received another invitation to continue deliberating it, and I hear from our Joint Secretary, Gupte ji, that we are going to continue deliberating this, and this group will get richer and become more task-oriented as we continue to deliberate. How can we make Ayurveda something that people within their country not only seek it, because obviously it has value, Ayurveda and yoga, but then with that, they want to come to India. And I believe I'm talking to several people who live here in India, or they are our diaspora all over the world. And if each one of us and if one of you could also just, do some online search or read a book on Ayurveda and get to know about its philosophy, not only will you be blessed, but each one of us can become an ambassador of Ayurveda and yoga and our holistic sciences. The government is trying very hard. I have been doing this for more than 20 years, but this is the first time with our Prime Minister in office that the government is taking such detailed interest, and I commend that. And I also wonder, what can we do? Interestingly, my profession is to promote Ayurveda and yoga from morning to night. But I look at Indians around me, I look at people who are in the community around me, and I tell them, do you know about Ayurveda? Do you know that Ayurveda is the knowledge of life, a wonderful life, a life that awaits you? And I didn't know that. So this is really important that we self-educate ourselves, and then we come together with our government in promoting this. And as far as I, who is Indian who lives abroad, I will do my part, and I will keep coming back. And thank you so much, Minister. Thank you, everyone, for organizing this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now request the Minister of State for Health and Family, Srimati Anupriya Patel, to make some remarks.
Thank you. Well, we've all almost reached a consensus that India can be developed as a wellness destination. And when we met last in May 2016, we had many of you, and we had the same set of panelists, and they had put forth some real valuable suggestions and made certain recommendations. And because we understand that the success story cannot be completed without your cooperation, so we had a serious compliance of the suggestions which were made, the recommendations we were made, and lots of interministerial consultations were held. And today, again, we have our eminent panelists who have given our very wonderful suggestions, talking about development of standardized protocols for yoga, or some intensive research backing for yoga. Also, giving a boost to the complementary medicines, which is in the primitive stage. The concerns were also voiced by one of our lady panelists regarding homeopathy. And also, one of our panelists said that we must not only increase awareness about India being a healthcare destination, most preferred destination, but we also have to increase the credibility factor, particularly when it comes to the cost of treatment factor. So I can only assure you that all these suggestions are well taken, your recommendations. We are going to seriously consider it. We are going to take it forward to the Ministry of Ayush as well. We will do our best, because whatever you're saying, it is really going to give a momentum to the entire concept and the idea which brings us all together here. So I can only assure that we'll take it forward, and next time when we meet, you will see that a great amount of compliance for the recommendations has been made by the Government of India, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, as well as the Ministry of Ayush. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam. I'll now request the Minister of State for External Affairs, Shri M.J. Akbarji, to make the concluding remarks.
Excellency Datuk Subramaniam, my colleague, Minister of State for Health, Anupriya Patel, Ajit, dignitaries, very distinguished professionals, dignitaries, and of course a very distinguished audience. Just very briefly, I want to leave you a thought with you. Have you ever wondered why the words health and wellness are separate and have separate meanings? After all, when we discuss health, we normally say get well soon. But they have actually developed separate and distinctive meanings, because while nothing is absolute, by and large, health deals with the body and wellness deals with the mind. Wellness is a search for something which allopathy does not easily provide, and that is serenity. And India really is in a unique position as a hub for both health as well as wellness. In the course of my work, I have had to go visit some very, very troubled zones, even war zones. And wherever I have gone, the one thing which is constant, irrespective of the economy and so on of the country, everyone recognizes that India is now, even in the health sector, the destination and the place to visit. So the demand for hospitals, specialization, conventional healthcare from India is huge. When you add to the fact that the Indian pharmaceutical industry is now delivering the best kinds of medicine, conventional medicines, at now absolutely prices which the multinationals cannot even dream of or compete with, then the holistic existence of healthcare in India really has become a very, very huge attraction across the world. The only challenge that is, and if you add to this the work being done by Ayush, the work being done has been very well said in yoga and in other sectors. What really is the attempt by yoga and the non-allopathy sectors? In my view, it is really connecting human nature with nature. And this connection is a knowledge that we had in a great depth of knowledge, not just in India. We had it in Greece. We had it in many other civilizations. After all, the human beings lived well and, for millennia before the arrival of the conquest of chemicals. And if you add that, you'll find that the holistic pattern of what India offers. The one challenge that we have really, and this is a challenge that is marketed all the time, is the challenge of fear. The big corporations use fear in order to push back the medicines that have been part. And we have to find mechanisms without being silly or without being raucous. We have to find answers to that. It's good enough that today we have managed to raise the questions, and I'm sure by next time we meet, at least some of the answers will be visible. Thank you all very, very much for being here.
Thank you very much. And in these final moments, we'd like to express our gratitude by felicitating our panel. Yes, the cultural program was delayed slightly and started late, so I do hope you'll be able to catch quite a bit of it. And it's on in Hall 3. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening ahead. Goodbye and good night.